We have believed the lie that serving our family means we need to leave the house to go out to work, meanwhile placing our kids in an institution to raise them for the majority of the day in the most critical years of their life, the 0 to 5-year-olds. And somehow in doing so, we are meant to be fulfilled through this. Welcome back to the Feminine Manifesto podcast. I'm Heather, and today we are talking about the lost art and beauty of femininity that feminism has absolutely destroyed. So what am I talking about? We as women in the 21st century have lost our ability to create and design beauty. This is because feminism has managed to convince an entire generation of women that their most valuable pursuit is anything but being in the home, resulting in the millennial generation having virtually no homemaking skills passed on from our mothers and our grandmothers. Now, this is not their fault. Hear me out. Our mothers were born in the 60s during the feminist rise up, so what they were told by society was that their only worth would be to pursue an education and career, and that being at home really wasn't accomplishing anything. So the result is they went off to work and were praised for it. And I have a lot of compassion on those wives and mothers who were fighting against the grain in this era, choosing to be at home instead, including my own mother. These were tough times, and the trad wife was not popular. There weren't podcasts out there on homemaking and encouraging the new mum. There were angry feminists dominating the culture. And the result is that the art of beauty in homemaking was lost in our society. The result is we have an entire millennial generation and younger of women who have none of these skills because their mothers never taught them, because they were not valued skills. Recently, I've been reading through Little House on the Prairie series with my daughter. This was set in the late 1800s, but the society that's depicted there is so foreign to us now. There has been an explosion in technology advances since then, which I am super grateful for. But have a listen to the skills that Ma, the mother of the girls, had back then and compare them to what we have today. You see a massive gap in women's skill set. So Ma had to hand sew and mend clothes. She made dresses, shirts, aprons, and children's clothing all from scratch. She knitted socks, mittens, scarves, crocheted, and made decorative needlework. She did quilting. She did all her laundry by hand. She cooked all of her meals on a wood stove or an open fire. She baked bread, biscuits, pies, cakes, cookies, all without the modern technologies that we have. She preserved food without having any fridges. She cooked game meat, which if you ever have cooked game meat, it is entirely different from cooking meat from the store. She made lollies from tree sap and snow, which has got to be one of my favorite stories in that where they harvest the tree sap from the trees and snap freeze it with the snow. And the girls absolutely love it. It's so cute. She canned fruits and vegetables. She made jams and jellies and preserved all of these. She smoked and cured meats. She managed all her winter food supplies, made herbal and home remedies. There was no GP and hospital access readily available, so they had to be thinking about what they would do if their children were sick. She had to harvest vegetables and herbs and keep those gardens. She assisted at the planting and the harvest seasons, and she had to go milk the cow and make all of the dairy work from that, handling the milk, making butter, churning cheese, doing all of these things. Now, this is not to say that we should all go back to Little House on the Prairie days or that these days were perfect. There were many issues back then. But it is to illustrate a point of how much skill and creativity we have lost in less than 200 years. Instead, we have believed the lie that serving our families means that we need to leave the house to go to work, while we place our kids in an institution to raise them in the most small and vulnerable years of their lives. And somehow in doing this, this is meant to be our fulfillment. Now, I get that financial times are tough now, and one of the results of feminism, one of the many blessings that it has given us, is that it has pushed women into the workforce en masse, and now our economy is geared towards a two-income home. So to have one income is incredibly difficult and incredibly difficult to live on. However, our default doesn't have to be to return to the work that we had prior to having kids, because more often than not, this work means we have to be out of the house for 8 hours a day plus travel time, which results in our kids having to go into daycare, institutions to raise them. So just because at one time we may have been a nurse, a teacher, a lawyer, a social worker, this shouldn't lock us in for the rest of our lives to be a slave to that role at all and any cost. So by all means, go and study these types of roles and work in them, but don't fall for the lie that your life is wasted if you then don't pursue that work for the remainder of your life. It is this lie that is causing so much damage and havoc in our society, women believing that their life is a waste if they don't continue to pursue their career. In the example of the Proverbs 31 woman, she is incredibly industrious. She makes garments, she sells them. And when you read the chapter, you get the picture of a busy, creative woman using all of her means and her mind to serve her family well, both through providing food and also through clever investing. So it's not that women can't receive a paycheck and women can't work, but it does mean we need to be clever and creative in how we are going to do that in serving our family, if that's what is needed for our family. So doing homemaking shouldn't be some mindless, boring task. Actually, it becomes quite the opposite. It utilizes and stretches you more than simply just going out to a job, filing admin papers all day. Recently, we went down on a holiday to Victoria, and we went to this beautiful town called Lakes Entrance, just outside of Melbourne. In that town, I came across this beautiful boutique shop with all these handmade items that women gather and sell. And it was amazing to see what these women and men were creating. It was predominantly women, though. These women ranged from young girls to 80-year-old women, each creating beautiful items to sell and being super creative in how to work. There was this beautiful handmade jewelry created by one lady. One lady had collected pebbles and stones and shells and painted them, then put them into this inset photo frames and created this beautiful wall art. Another lady had painted these beautiful ceramic fairy houses and garden ornaments. There were sewn oven mitts, handmade candles, handcrafted cards, relishes, jams. There were these super cute little felt fairy houses and cute little animal characters with clothes. And walking in here, you feel inspired and you feel elated because of the beauty and the creativity and time that has been put into making each of these items. And it just reminded me of the beauty that women can create if we put our minds to it and are not caught in the belief that the only way that we can earn money and be a help to our family is if we return to the workforce and to the work that we had prior to having kids, therefore having to outsource our kids to someone else in the most important years of their life. So be inspired and don't let our culture tell you that your work at home is invaluable and the only option is to go back to your job and prior to when you had kids, working long hours away from home. God has said in his word, if we lack wisdom, to ask for it, and he will give us generously. So if you're in a bit of a pickle financially and you're not sure what to do, pray and ask God for wisdom of how you can serve your family in the ways that are unique to your own family situation, and allow the creativity and beauty that God has given women flow through you to bless your family. Don't be caught in the lies of feminism, which are rooted in evil.